All right, everybody, welcome back to another Thursday episode of Crypto Connoisseurs. I am your host, Kyle Chasse, and we have a all-star lineup of guests tonight. We've got Kieran, the founder of Illuvium. We've got Alexi, the NFT sniper. Saratubi, the NFT sniper from YGG. And we've got Brett from the Brett Way, who's going to tell us all about what he's been looking at in the wild world of NFTs. So everybody, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, participate in this, because we're going to have an excellent show for you tonight. Let's get into some major macro news around the world. There was a poll recently done in Texas where 37% of the people polled said that they want to follow in the path of El Salvador, possibly, and accept cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, things like that. There's a reason why Joe Rogan left California and went to Austin. They're on the right track. They like their freedom, and I don't blame them. Colombia. It's nice to see that Colombia is not teaching kids to manufacture Coke so much anymore, but they're actually now spending $30,000 on an app to teach kids how to trade crypto and stocks. It's great to see that there's a change in what we're teaching the youth these days. We've got OpenSea. And the scandal that went down there, where there's some insider trading. Turns out that that Nate was actually fired from that. That brings up the question: do we need decentralized NFT swapping or exchange protocols? And another thing for that is DMCA, things like that. So we've seen Pepe being taken down from a lot of these NFTs. So that begs the question, and we'll get into that a bit later. We've got massive fundraisers going on right now for sports NFTs. And this is something that we'll get into in a bit as well. Celebrities, sports, things like that, moments behind the scenes, movie stars and celebrities, raising massive amounts of money, almost $1 billion raised recently in the sports NFT world. And there's a lot more that are coming across soon to the market. And finally, one of YouTube's biggest stars being busted for basically taking Adobe stock photos and turning them into art that he has been working on for months, and selling them for ridiculous amounts of money. I will show you the video on that later, so make sure you stay tuned, because it is very entertaining and actually mind-blowing that they felt that they would get away with this. So things to watch out for as well, ladies and gentlemen. We have the crypto cases, the giveaway that I am absolutely super excited about doing every time that I talk to a project. And if there's anyone out there watching who wants to contribute into this, I would encourage you to talk to people and do it, because my goal here is to change the lives of 100,000 families. And what are we going to do? Well, we used to think this was $1 million giveaway, but I'm going for a $20 million giveaway here. And I think that we're going to do it. I believe over the next 3 months, we can get another 20 projects easily on board. I've been talking to a lot of them recently who are going to come on board. And also starting up a discussion with Razer Games. Razer has a big charitable contribution aspect to it as well. So if we can get them to donate a bunch of refurbished phones, things like that, mobile devices, I believe that we can do it, and we can get this model up and change 100,000 people's, 100,000 families' lives. And I'm very excited for that. So I would like to thank everybody who has contributed to this giveaway. Thank you very much. And let's bring on the guest. Saratobi, what's up, brother?
How's it going? Thanks for having me on the show.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, so guys, if you don't know Saratobi, he's from YGG. I would say probably the most prominent gaming guild right now in the crypto world, that's for sure. And Brett from the Brett Way. Brett, what's happening, man?
Kyle, what's going on? Thanks for having me on, man. It's a lot of fun being on with leaders in the space. It's really cool.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you. I know that you're coming up and coming quick, guys. If you haven't checked out Brett's show, the Brett Way on YouTube and at the Brett Way on Twitter, he also has his own project coming up, which I would like to talk to you about a little bit later, because I'm a big fan of the cause. And then Kieran fell off, but I'm sure he'll be back from Illuvium. So we'll just wait for him to pop back in. But let's get into it, guys. So basically, I wanted to ask this question about Alexi. You'll be sorry, Saratobi. You'll be able to basically and here's Kieran. Let me run them in real quick. Kieran, what's happening, man?
Hey, how are you? Sorry about that. I've literally
No worries.
just moved house. So I'm on 4G internet at the moment. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. But yeah, we'll see how we go.
No worries, man. I was just about to get into the first kind of topic, which is this idea, and I'm actually quite curious here. So we have this play to earn phenomena, and then we also have this idea of free to play. And so, can you guys, any one of you, kind of just tell me the difference of them, and how relevant is free to play in kind of a game that's designed to be play to earn?
Sure, I can take that one away. So in our case, I don't think we've seen any live games right now that actually have the play to earn side of things and free to play. However, obviously we're launching early next year. The way that we see it is you've almost got to have both, and the way we're working our free to play side of things is a way to capture as many people into the project as possible, into the game, actually get them playing the game, and once they're addicted to it and they like it and they actually get an idea of how to play and all that kind of stuff, that's when we will encourage them to start paying to earn or play to earn, and starting to actually put in a little bit of money, which will so in our free to play earn model, you can actually earn a little bit, but you can't earn a massive amount of money, right? Because otherwise that starts breaking the economics. So in our case, we just want you to test it out with the free to play and then start going, okay, I really love this. Now put in, I'm going to go to the harder regions inside our world, which costs a little bit more money, but you're going to find, more powerful alluvials, which should theoretically fetch more money on the exchange.
We have a little video real quick. Let's just show it so we can kind of explain to people watching what you're talking about.
Illuvium is also one of the games looking to add free-to-play accessibility. You can jump in, you can explore the world, you can collect any tier 0 alluvials, you can actually level those up as well and sell them to lazy whales that don't want to grind and level up their characters for actual cash.
There we go. So would it be worth it? Is that model of kind of leveling up your alluvial, to sell it to whales? Is that a lucrative model? Do you think that's going to be a big part of the gameplay, or is it more just about the experience?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think the cool thing about our game is that every single person starts off on the same level playing field, right? There's no, we didn't do a pre-sale of NFTs where whales can come in and just buy every single rare alluvial. And so what that means is, with that fair launch, is everyone who goes out in the initial stages, if there's whales there that are like, I'm not gonna go and grind hours and hours and hours a day to find these alluvials, I'm just going to wait until someone else finds them. That means that they're going to be, sought after by these whales, because there's no other way for them to get them except to wait until someone goes and does that for them. And then
so they can't. So if I'm a whale and I start at the same level, like a level 0 or whatever with my alluvial, I can't just pay to upgrade it.
No.
Okay.
And so yeah, you've got to wait just like everyone else, and obviously there are going to be people out there that literally go, I don't care, I'll wait a week, 2 weeks before I actually purchase, because all I want to do is go into the battles and start playing other people and winning more ETH myself, right? And so so yeah, I think the original people who catch these alluvials are going to be paid handsomely by these whales, because they're going to be so sought after.
Sir Toby, I know that you that one of your expertise is really identifying, in-game economics, and you actually you actually put me together with another project, Genopet, which I thought was awesome. I saw the demo, really really cool. It's a bit of a different free-to-play model, which is you can level up your character without spending that time, which is an interesting dynamic. So what do you look for? Because you guys have to, you got other people's money at stake too when you're investing in games. And I think one of the things that you look at the most is economics, right? So what are you looking
Absolutely.
at for economics? And probably for anyone listening, this is probably an important lesson for you guys to pay attention to.
Well, just to kind of echo what Kieran said there, what's kind of really key there is you have the ability to play games for free, but that you tie the ability to earn more to investing in the assets in the game. So that's in Illuvium's case is the Illuvials, obviously, and I think in going to Illuvium's case, I think it's very solid to tie the leveling up system to real human activity, because that obviously incentivizes real play as opposed to just people just dumping capital into a game. It kind of really enables and incentivizes like mass participation from large communities of players, and that's obviously creates a much more healthy game ecosystem. And just to touch on Genopets, I mean, that has a similar kind of mechanic where they have these habitats where again you can play the game and you can level up your pet, but you can't kind of earn as significant amount unless you have the habitat. So that habitat is a mechanism through which it kind of creates a much more stable economic system. And again, this is something where, with free to play, I think they are gonna, free to play to earn games are going to struggle quite a lot. But what's going to be important is you can have a free-to-play game as long as you segment the game experiences. So you can have a game experience where it's free-to-play to allow people from anywhere in the world to just play with no risk whatsoever. But then if the yield mechanic often needs to be tied to some kind of, so maybe you get certain assets in the free-to-play game, they might not allow you to earn. For example, taking Axie Infinity, for example, they are in the process of developing a free-to-play mode of the game, which will allow anyone to play, but that's going to have no earning whatsoever, so doesn't risk the economy in any way, shape, or form. It will still kind of, the resilience and the earning capability and that kind of barrier to entry, which though is criticized by some, is what enables the degree of earning that's possible in something like Axie Infinity. And I think it's going to, if you look at many other games, embracing kind of the ability to like have more power from investing more does kind of make sense. So if you have a game like, say, Star Atlas, for example, which is a very large scale project in development right now, if you dump lots of cash into this, you're obviously going to be a more successful player because it's trying to replicate real life. And if we want to be honest here, I mean, real life is probably pay to win, right?
Yeah, that's yeah. And we'll get into both Star Atlas and something like esports in a bit. Yeah, because that's that play to win is exactly what I think is going to make big bucks. Brett, you on your channel, you mostly talk about these art NFTs and how to make money with them, what to look for. Have you dug into in-game NFTs, land sales, things like that yet?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Illuvium. I've been following them for a while. It's just a really, like Sarah Toby's saying, it's a really interesting balance of how these free-to-play games, like you don't want to have a barrier to entry, you want to let as many people in as possible. But if you look at games like Mirandus, setting standard, how much money is in the ecosystem is pretty much pricing in the economy and how much people can make in the games. So play to earn is one of the most exciting like innovations in my mind, and what I look forward to covering a lot on my channel moving forward. So this is really cool to hear from two of the like leading experts in the field. So
yeah, that's cool, man. I'm looking forward to you to start covering this stuff, because I know that you give really quick, concise, important information, which is very valuable to people like myself who don't have a lot of time to kind of study this. So you just talked about something that I haven't heard about. What was it, Mirandus?
Yeah, so it's Mirandus. There's this game where I think they're giving out like 5 castles, kings. It's kind of like I think it's like an MMORPG open world game where you can like
it's by Gala Games, from Gala Games.
So yeah, he knows plenty. So basically, it's just you're going to like own real estate. You can own a bar, so people's like real life jobs can be like operating in this game, and you can even employ people. It could be passive. It's a really cool concept, and I know the castles are going for over $800,000. So
wow,
pretty lucrative stuff out there.
How much could you get them for initially?
No, I think that's straight from the company, if I'm not mistaken, off launch. because like the king, like you own like a whole like geographical area.
There's only 5 of those potentially available.
Yeah, and multiple have sold for $800,000 already.
Kieran's about to. He's licking his lips over there, man. He's like, I got to get one of these things.
Yeah,
No,
very
it's
lucrative, and you're
actually
like a king in the world. So
the reason I'm licking my lips there is we've got a land sale that's coming out very, very soon, and part of that is our tier 5 land parcels. There's only going to be 7 available, and they're actually where we're going to be holding our esports tournaments. We're actually going to
Sick.
have a stadium in each one of these parcels, and so there's obviously a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with those stadiums if you own one of them, in terms of like advertising and stuff like that. When, I don't know, we, let's say, hold the largest esports tournament in history, they'll have the ability for the people that are watching that tournament to advertise to, and they'll actually get a percentage of the streaming revenue that those events generate. And so when you said 800,000, I was laughing because I'm trying to work out what these 7 lands will go for, these top tier parcels, and I've been thinking it'll go for like somewhere around the million mark, but who knows? You know, we've now got like 400,000, 500,000 people that have registered. And when you're talking 7 plots between literally that many potential buyers, who knows? Who knows?
And with the scalability and them actually getting the advertising rights, I'm excited for that.
If I had a Fidenza right now, I definitely would trade it for one of these 7 pieces. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And just to ask a question there, Kieran, so these 7 plots, are they going to be for public auction or are they for private sale?
Everything will be public. We were initially I was initially toying with the idea of making it like an invite only sort of situation, just because I didn't want any, I guess, time wasters around that huge price point. And I think the people that buy those plots are going to be either like large VC firms or potentially, you know, other large games, maybe that some sort of interoperable opportunity there. But yeah, I have no idea. I know one guild is looking to purchase one of those stadiums, which
Sick.
isn't YGG, but
Saratobi, you want to go halvesies on one?
Definitely something we could look at, I'm sure.
Yeah.
but
That's cool, man. All this stuff, is like, it just really blows my mind when we talk about where we're headed in the world. You know, like that's insane. When I, talking to Michael from Star Atlas and how he's talking, like something similar to the Miranda's, where people are going to be doing real. He was telling me like you can actually hire a janitor to pick up trash off the floor in your ship. You know, like, all right. I mean, if I'm going to a virtual world, I'm not going to aspire to be a janitor, but everyone needs a job. So I imagine that in these worlds, like skill sets and smarts and things like that will kind of also qualify you for these type of job details, right? So it's hard to actually imagine everything that's going to be happening. But Kieran, can you tell me more about the esports thing? Because that's fascinating to me. I've been learning a lot about the growing esports kind of realm, and how a lot of esports tournaments and champions are making more money than traditional sports players. So what role does Illuvium have in the esports world, and like how much is it going to grow?
Yeah, so I mean, we're part of our game is like the open world Pokemon style, which has the same auto battler mechanics built into it. But where I think our esports is going to go is in our battles, and so our PvP battles, where it's again using auto battler mechanics. If you look at something like League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, the amount of popularity that they have, and Dota 2 with streaming, because there's so much strategy that goes behind the scenes of these games, people love to watch them. You know, like there's and I think with ours, because there's a little bit more in the turn building phase, there's a little bit more strategy that can be openly shown. And so when someone's putting down a character and you're watching the opponent and you're like, oh my God, he just played that. Is he going to play this character? There's a lot of like suspenseful stuff that's happening. And then obviously the cinematic style of gameplay that we've gone with is really, really nice to look at. And when you're talking about an auto battler, you've got so many things that are going on, as in like there's potentially 5 to 7 characters on both sides, and all of those characters auto attacking all at the same time. And so you've got this almost like a chessboard that's just blowing up with different ultimate abilities.
Sorry,
and
what is an auto battler?
It's essentially it's basically a new style of game where you build out your team and you choose your team prior to the battle starting, and then once the battle commences, it's literally a deterministic outcome, and essentially you don't control the players. They just automatically will walk up and start auto attacking their opponents. Once they defeat that opponent, it'll pivot to the next person, until everyone is wiped out on the board. The last person standing is the team that wins, essentially.
And interestingly, the auto battler genre is actually like extremely popular in, say, the Far East, for example, and it kind of also touches on this kind of casual gaming kind of trend, which is actually like incredibly popular with like millions of people, because it allows for kind of casual, ubiquitous gaming. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's like a game of chess, right? And people, chess, one of the most popular games in the world. Yeah. It's that, but making it a lot more pretty and beautiful in terms of the actual outcomes that are happening on the board.
So what about these kind of moments that are being captured in esports? Is anyone taking advantage of the kind of highlights that are happening within these esports tournaments? Like and we got NBA Top Shots, right? Like Michael Jordan shooting a three-pointer for the winning shot. Like that is idolized and turned into an NFT, right? We can all picture that kind of moment because it's like collectible cards, but no one's really ever done this for esports before, right?
I did actually. I've already heard about. I think there was a project that was like capturing headshots and turning them into NFT moments already. I can't remember the name of the project right now, but I think it does exist.
Yeah, and then I have a huge background in esports. Like it's my dream to own an esports organization, like bigger than like a sports club or anything. And so nice. There's been a lot like Counter-Strike Global Offensive. I know they have like trading cards of their own players for big tournaments. So I'm very excited about the future of esports. And on top of it, it's just growing more and more. And on top of that, implementing blockchain. This is an exciting time to be alive for me.
I was at a call the other day with two guys. They were quite young, two gamers that met online, and he's talking about in the pitch. He was talking about how, God, I forgot what he was talking about, but basically how kids that used to get bullied are now like making all the money and getting all the attention. I was just like, man, revenge of the nerds, man. We are taking over the world. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I never thought that like a background in playing Warhammer and Magic the Gathering would have come in handy so much. And like the fact that I was like playing Command and Conquer in '95 and Warcraft in, Warcraft 2, Diablo 2, all these things, StarCraft, they'd all come back to be like really valuable. And then it's like, not only are they valuable from like understanding it from like, okay, how games are constructed, but like understanding how the underlying economies can function within a game environment is quite interesting.
Yeah. So I want to get into this idea of like putting ourselves, because this has got my mind running wild. And so like when we talk about metaverses, and like the ability to kind of be there, right? So we're talking about like virtual reality, and I think even evolving beyond that, right? So
can I be
'cause I
really
think
can
that-
I be really cheeky? Can I be really
Yeah,
cheeky
please
and
go
say
ahead.
that I don't like the term metaverses at all? There is the
Oh my
metaverse.
God.
So okay,
I'm
there is
glad-
there.
Buzzword.
Okay, I think this is important and should be like
Yeah.
we should pick up people to say that there is the metaverse, which everything is a part of. There is not multiple metaverses. There's one metaverse. But like look, it's not your fault. There's loads of people that make that mistake. And there's like game projects that come on and say like, "Oh, I'm building a metaverse." It's like, you're not building a metaverse.
No.
You want to be part of the metaverse,
We
which
are
is a
building the
singular
metaverse,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Seriously,
does the word multiverse mean anything, or is that
So that's a
another
separate
like pop-up?
multiverse is a description of multiple universes.
We're getting deep.
Okay. So what do we call what do I tell next time
You can
someone
say
says
the
I got a
metaverse, but you want to contribute to the metaverse. Like Illuvium, for example, the assets in Illuvium, I'm sure, may be composable in other projects in the future, and that means that they are part of the metaverse. Maybe in Decentraland, you might be able to walk your alluvials around. That is the metaverse. The idea of like all these projects operating in an interoperable and composable fashion. That is the metaverse. So any game that wants to be interoperable and use underlying blockchain technology is part of the metaverse.
Okay.
I couldn't agree with that more.
I lesson learned for me tonight. That's for sure. I'm gonna play two videos back to back real quick that I just watched earlier that really got my mind running. Let's roll them.
Enter the Norimaki synthesizer. Its goal is simple: get your taste buds in on the action. The Norimaki synthesizer is the rare gadget you won't look like a creep for getting to third base with. It dispenses 5 different gels made of dissolved electrolytes that, when electrically charged, provide controlled amounts of each of the 5 basic flavors.
And
these things have the potential to inject one of the most important missing components of VR into the equation: touch. They've got 133 individual points of tactile feedback, which can all individually push against the skin of your hand with an absurd level of precision and variability. A haptic feedback suit. The most exciting are the epidermal VR suit and the Tesla suit. They both sport similar technology, like actuators to simulate physical touch. Soon, we might feel everything from a congratulatory pat on the back from your teammate to the grass underneath you as you pretend to be injured in FIFA.
All right. So mine goes running wild when we hear about these epidural suits. Immersion, full immersion. Where are we going to be in 10 years from now, 20 years from now?
I think in Illuvium's case, inside our world, which is inside the metaverse, just to echo Saratovi's point there, because I totally agree with that. But for us, we certainly want to start utilizing things like AR, and I mean, people early on were making jokes about, I can't wait until I can leave my life and enter Illuvium for real and start literally being, looking around in a room and you're looking at, this crazy alien biome that all of a sudden you've got a ram fire over the top of you and you're literally that character and you're fully immersed in this world. It sounds amazing, and I'm all for it. I would definitely, jump into that experience. But personally, I still think that we're a long ways away from that type of immersion in gaming. But I certainly see it, if we're talking 15, 20 years, then yeah, 100%. That's the type of gaming that I think we're going to get very, very used to, which is extremely exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the ideal, like best case scenario where we all want to be, but I don't see that happening within the next 10 years to a usable or even like immersible way. But it is exciting to see that these people are solving those problems.
See, I think maybe I'm more of a utopian or like optimist. I kind of feel like this stuff could come quicker, but then I think I have a habit. Like when I first saw Google Glass, for example, I thought we were all going to be walking around with augmented reality headsets at this stage, and we're really not. So, I mean, look, things can obviously escalate really quickly, and if we look at, say, Moore's law and the the increase in processing capabilities of like day-to-day handheld devices, that is like rapidly increasing. So if it can continue to increase at the kind of exponential rate that it has been, you could imagine that like especially like AR could kind of explode over the next 5 years. But like fully immersive VR experiences with full haptics, I mean, I think realistically you probably are looking at like at least very minimum like kind of 5 to 10 years before like really meaningful adoption.
Yeah, to make it consumer friendly, absolutely.
Yeah.
I still have yet to put on a VR headset that like really impressed me, but I guess I haven't tried very many, to be honest. Have you guys put anything on that's like impressive?
I mean, I think they're impressive as they are, like the new Oculus Quest 2s or even the Valve Indexes. Like Half-Life Alyx was really impressive, but I also kind of had not low standards, but they're doing a really good job for where we are. I think I like it. They just need to work. I think that is a big focus before we even get to feeling and tasting in game.
All right. So let's go into the kind of where we're headed. I mean, we just gave a picture of where we're headed, but let's talk about the money aspect, which is all super important in crypto, right? It's all about economics and making money, and that's what a lot of people want to do. I want to go into different ways that we can make money, the different things that are coming up that people might not know about. So Kieran, I want to start with you and asking this question. Right now, Illuvium has a fully diluted valuation of about $6 billion. And we see a game like Fortnite that had a recent fundraise valuation at almost $29 billion. And they have 5 million people. And Illuvium right now isn't running yet. I know it's quickly coming, which I'm super excited for. But is a $6 billion valuation, is that something that is reasonable or sustainable? I mean, yeah. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I mean, with us, it's purely speculation right now. People, because we don't have a live game that is out and playable now, you can only look at the fundamentals, right? You can only look at, okay, what are they actually going to be able to build here? And when you're talking a valuation of that size, what you would, if I take my Illuvium hat off and I put on my investor hat, I go, okay, how many users do I think they're going to generate in the first year? And how do what examples can I draw on in order to get an accurate idea of what's reasonable? And if you look at what Alexi has been doing over the past 6 months, their exponential growth, even though we're very, very different types of games, and we're going for a much more high graphics, high strategy game. You can look at that's a play to earn game, we're a play to earn game, right? And they are seriously getting up to numbers which are encroaching on what mainstream are doing. I think Saratobi, you would have better figures than me, but the last time I looked at Alexi, they were at like something like 2.5 million players. Is that still close?
I know they had 1.5 million DAU, daily active users, there very, very recently. But in terms of like revenue numbers, and I think the kind of traditional gaming space is really going to start taking notice of the revenue numbers. And actually, I know that they're taking notice because, if a company is making, I think Sky Mavis was the fastest growing company in the world there a couple of months ago. And in terms of like real revenue, was generating in the $100 million plus in pure revenue, based on, primarily kind of like secondary marketplace sales. And I think this is going to be a trend that's going to be impossible to ignore for traditional incumbents in the gaming space. They're going to look at, I think, something that they just haven't kind of really calculated or anticipated is the potential for secondary market sales, kind of providing like a meaningful revenue generation mechanism. So what, if you look at a company like Epic Games and Fortnite, if they were to fully embrace NFTs, which I'm sure they will, potentially sooner than we might expect, if they were to adopt, I don't think they're going to adopt play to earn as such, but what they will aim to adopt faster would be the ownership of skins and the ability to trade those skins, obviously with a marketplace fee in place to allow them to have similar ridiculously huge revenue generation. But interestingly, all that this will kind of accelerate, though, is adoption of NFT technologies, an understanding of the opportunity and revenue creation potential of these technologies, which I think will only just hasten the adoption of the underlying technologies and just attract like a massive magnet all this kind of developer interests to the kind of blockchain and play to earn space.
Do you think is it easy for let's say a AAA game that's already out and doing well to integrate NFTs into the existing gameplay, or is it something that has to be designed from day one and integrated into the tech?
I think straight up NFTs is kind of not too hard, but tokenization and kind of play to earn mechanics is much more complicated.
And the education process there, you're talking about tens of millions of players that are very used to the way that things normally are inside the game with the marketplace, that as soon as you start trying to educate them, you're potentially, it's definitely a process that's possible, but it does unfortunately take time. And I guess that's one advantage that we have over here in crypto native land, where we've built our protocols from the ground up to have all of these functions in place. And so just to go back to that question, I think Saratobi, you just touched on it, the ownership of assets. That's what people are looking for right now, right? Like the play to earn side of it is big, right? But at the same time, we only have so much yield that we can give, right? And this is a point that I really, really harp on about. And once that yield runs out, it's literally is the game fun to play, right? And why am I here playing this game and not something else, right? And so that's why I think the biggest thing by far and large is the ownership of assets. I think that's the biggest thing that NFTs bring to this space, and why you're seeing these valuations, which there's no gameplay out, there's nothing like that, and we're valued at $6 billion. People are betting on NFT gaming. People are betting on players out there saying, hey, I know this is now possible. Why aren't you making this available to me? And I think as soon as more games that are trying to be of the quality that we are, that AAA standard, and there's 5, 6, 7 games out there that are building the exact same thing as us. And when we can say, hey, we have the same gameplay that you guys have, that you're used to, the same high quality graphics that you're used to in mainstream, except you can actually own your assets. And it doesn't matter what happens, if the game shuts down or whatever, your Fortnite skins go with that game, right? Except if they were NFTs, then they would have the ability to go and sell them. And then a weird case might come up where 20 years from now, people are, Fortnite skins are so rare because the game's been done for 20 years that all of a sudden they're flipping these NFTs that wouldn't exist at all if they hadn't switched that. All of a sudden you're getting value there. And so I think the biggest thing is investors are now saying this is not going away. And so they're looking for the one where they're saying, okay, which is going to be the one that can actually compete, that does have NFTs, play to earn, real world ownership. And they're going all in on these protocols. So you can look at it and you can go, that's ridiculous. You know, they've got a $6 billion valuation. Fortnite, Epic is only at 30 billion, and they've got all these players and whatever. But people are speculating on what is going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. So
it's the same thing to kind of back up what you're saying. It's the same thing with every single cryptocurrency in the world, except for maybe that of Ethereum and Bitcoin, who have demonstrated quite a bit of actual real world utility. But every single other one is all speculation. Whether it's,
well, I don't know, if you want to look at SLP from Axie Infinity, I think there's more people using that in the Philippines than credit cards, to my understanding.
You're actually you're definitely right on that one.
Yeah.
But we're seeing problems with SLP, right? Is that, am I like, is it?
But that's just down to user growth.
Yeah. So how do you? So if the price of Axie continues to increase and the value of SLP continues to decrease because people are just making it so quickly and selling it, is that a model that's scalable, or is that a model that's broken?
No, it's something that the team have been very clear in needing to iterate on top of. So obviously they just need to create additional mechanisms for incentivized burning. So they're very much aware of these things, and these things are all very much in development. But yeah, admittedly, there is a system in place right now where, like, you see these huge spikes in users, which obviously increases the minting of the underlying elastic token SLP. But obviously, which is why you can see this downtrend because of the vast number of players. But even as of today, you can see that I think they had they've tweaked the economy, and you've seen like a big like 30% increase in a single day. So there is this kind of underlying kind of central bank kind of the developer, and this is where it gets interesting, because like the developers of these games basically do become sort of central banks at the end of the day. And I mean, similarly, I don't know exactly whether Ilv, for example, will operate in a similar way, but I'm sure that there will be kind of the ability for, obviously long term, you know, many of the governance tokens in these game economies do aim to have, you know, governance participation to affect like the kind of central banking policy of these game developers. And you know, it'll be interesting thing to see.
That'll be really sorry to cut you off. That'll be really interesting, because you just made me think about DAO structures and how I've always thought about a DAO structure in like real life government, you know, and how to implement them, and how it would be so difficult for us to actually test these things out, because wow, this just blew my mind. Actually, I've always, you know, we have a project here in Thailand called House of DAO. We're actually trying to build, you know, a community that thinks differently than your average person, you know, where we encourage different types of education and just basically welcoming people who think like us, you know, to kind of come together and not feel like complete weirdos. But you know, and my goal was to basically find a big enough piece of land, still is, you know, to basically, and have these around the world, eventually build in charter cities where, you know, you have some degree of autonomy, and test out these DAO models. But you just made me think about the fact that we can actually test these DAO models in things like video games, where you have central banks or monetary and fiscal policies, and we're actually coming to a place now where actually that could be tested. And because you got to wonder, like, you have the game developers who are constantly looking at the monetary supply and the policies around it, like an Axie, and they're trying to fix it, right? And so you have to wonder, like, if people had a significant amount of tokens to control a DAO structure, like, are they the best suited to make the decisions of the monetary policy, you know? And if you just let it open up wild, you know, this is when we start thinking about things like DAO structures, and then things like bad actors, you know, where a whale might come in and say, well, this is the best monetary policy, and everyone else is like, no, that's best for you, Mr. Whale, but maybe not best for all of us. And so this is actually wild, that we're going to start to see these things playing out in the real world, and who are going to be the bold, brave souls who actually allow that to happen in the game that they've worked so hard to develop. Where I imagine that day when those
over here.
Yeah, Kieran, I cannot wait, man. Please let us know the day that you give up the control, the pseudo key, or the control to the.
It's gone. We were day one. We literally we were the first. I mean, the amount of times I hear a project say that we're a DAO, and you know, we literally went DAO first. I think we were like 4 days old, and Kane was like, hey, Kane, my brother from Synthetics, was like, what's going on? How are you not, decentralized yet? And I'm like, whoa, man, like we've got to build an entire game here. We can't just give over power to the pit. And then I started thinking about that, and I was like, wait a second, what if we did? What if we actually just said, okay, we have a plan. We've put in place a white paper, and it's very thorough, and it outlines exactly what we're trying to build. But then what if we put in place this structure, and we utilized what Synthetics actually have, which is token holders voting in a council. So essentially the people that they deem best fit to make those decisions. And so we utilize that model. So we've kind of combated the whole whale idea. That doesn't really exist in our governance because of this appointed council. But one of the first things that actually was decided, one of the first IIPs, was that any of the seed investors and the core team, they can't stake their tokens to farm yield, right? And that's a huge monetary policy change. Like that's a configurable where not only had I gone out and raised money from like 40 different individuals and VC firms, and now I'm going back to them and I'm saying, hey, you know how you invested in a fully decentralized protocol? Well, here's an example for you. Yeah. You no longer can go and find, and like we're talking like a framework, for example, right? They were our lead investor. They put in $1 million. That's a huge amount of money for them to put aside. Now, the argument there is, in doing so, in allowing the council, effectively the community, to have that power and that ability to say, we don't give a shit who the investors are. For the good of the protocol, we need to move to this. Has that meant that the token price has increased so much because the community feels so good about being able to make changes like that? And so was it more beneficial for me to be able to stake and get my yield that potentially wasn't that valuable because other people are new investors are looking in like, oh, I'm not touching that because these pre-seed guys have got all the upside? It's debatable, right? And so we're literally navigating through this right now, and I have to say that it's been a fairly smooth process the whole way through. But we're living this right now. And
interestingly, from like a DeFi perspective, though, there could be like it could end up like indirectly benefiting the VCs, because like in theory, like it means that the APY on the staking rewards remains high, which increases the buy pressure on the public market, which in turn increases the value of the tokens that the VCs own anyway, thus meaning that their investment is pretty solid anyway, right?
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying it's like, what would you rather? And me, as one of those people that was planning on obviously staking and earning those yields, I got blocked from doing that. And my, the first reaction is, hey, give me my toys. I don't want, you're not allowed to take them from me. But then when you really start thinking about it, it's like, okay, well, if this is going to make the token go from 50 to 500, do I really care? And the answer is no, right? So,
let's put it. Let's just be real here. If you put $1 million into Illuvium as a lead investor, you probably don't need the yield. I mean, that's enough to retire the generations of every person in that VC's family forever. Like, I'm glad that was done. That's really awesome, man. Kieran, amazing to hear. That alone is going to make me follow Illuvium so much closer, because I'm super curious about how DAO structures will play out in the real world, and I'm glad that you're actually going to bring that to the people. Brett, what other games are you looking at that are interesting? You told me about one that I have not heard of before. What else is catching your attention?
I mean, we talked about a lot of them: Star Atlas, Illuvium, Mirandus. Those are probably my main three. I'm more of a first-person shooter guy, so I'm kind of waiting around for those big game developments to come in and implement some sort of play to earn. Of course, Axes I've actually tried out, but those are like the main four in my mind. Illuvium's like by far my one I'm most excited for.
How like you guys are all gamers, and I used to be one, but I don't have time these days, but I used to play a lot. How important are graphics in this whole thing? Because I came across a couple projects, one of them that is working all on like 8 bits, like very simple kind of graphics that has an insane valuation already, which is hard for me to believe. And I just look at this and I'm like, wow, how is this? And then one of the guys that works with me is like, Kyle, you should check this out. And it showed me a couple different other games that are on like Steam and stuff like that, that have insane amounts of downloads that are just really, really basic. And so like, when it comes down, and then Axie obviously has, like, it reminds me of Nintendo, like the original Nintendo kind of like, it's just not very impressive. So like, how important are graphics in this whole play to earn economy? Yeah.
To me, that's probably one of the most important things and what attracts me to Illuvium. Like that is definitely in my mind their strong suit on the outside looking in. And then from there, I'm okay with lower graphics, kind of like Treeverse or Axie Infinity, if the game is simplistic and as long as there's some sort of like satisfaction in there. But for me, I'm a big design.
Yeah, me too. And where are we what other, so Brett, like what, actually anyone, if you guys can jump in here, where else? So I always like to try to stay ahead of the curve, and for me, NFTs, we can just only imagine where they're headed, right? So I invest in a lot of projects. Saratobi, I know you do too. And I know, Brett, you're always hunting, and Kieran, I'm sure that you're building a lot, but probably have some insight on this as well. What other use cases do we have coming around the corner that people aren't really talking about yet? I'd like to give some people that are watching this kind of the heads up on what's coming around the corner.
In terms of new games that I'm
I would say like different use cases for NFTs, right? So we've seen in-game assets like skins, vehicles, guns, whatever, characters. We've seen now sports, obviously, and art. But I know that I'll give you one example. I'm getting pitched a lot across my desk about celebrities. Some guy today told me, imagine like David Beckham wakes up in the morning, he's like brushing his teeth with his shirt off over the balcony, and like, and you have like an NFT like of this, and I just in my mind, I still don't quite grasp like that, and like owning that moment, I guess, is kind of the idea, right? So things like this.
Yeah, so I think there's a new wave coming, in my opinion, is going to be like adventures or like scavenger hunts. And then, of course, there's like, if you've attended a live event like the POAPs, proof of attendance or proof of actual participation, those will be really cool.
And I think, to add to that, I think a huge trend, which kind of touches on a few of the things that you mentioned there, is going to be just like the ability for NFTs to leverage like brand communication between brand and community. So like this means that like, okay, you could be any kind of brand, and if you want to basically create like a sense of ownership within a community of a brand, at a kind of high level. So that means that maybe, Kyle, you have like super fans within your community. You can leverage NFTs to create like deep bonds between yourself and those communities, because that could be through like just like a simple NFT, but that simple NFTs can then enable like additional drops in the future of any kind of tokens, or it could be like specialized access to Discord communities, or maybe it could be like the specialized Kyle Chassé NFT. Maybe another play to earn game in the future builds out support for that NFT and it turns into like a sweet car. And then maybe you have your same NFT 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, when you have your House of DAO, gives you special access to like a special experience inside that that experience. And one could imagine that like brands and artists and celebrities of all kinds are going to kind of adopt this technology as a mechanism to kind of create community around their personal brand and utilize it as a mechanism to communicate between themselves and their communities.
Spot on.
Brett, so you've got your. I think that sense of community is different in the NFT, the non-fungible world versus the fungible world. I mean, we see strong communities in token projects for sure, but I had not experienced like that type of intensity with that we're seeing in the NFT world. Like, Brett, can you give us some idea as someone who is creating your project, right? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about your project that you're creating. Super cool. And like, how does it feel to have your own community now, kind of like forging around your NFT project?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're a follower of my channel, you know that's what I absolutely preach, is that these NFTs projects are really just like exclusive clubs, and this is your ticket in to be a part of this community. And so the art is great, and my girlfriend did a great job. That's the art for the Magic Mushroom Clubhouse, my NFT project that's dropping. The whitelist is actually today, and we actually released Saturday on the 25th for public mint. But the art's great, but I really do think the real value is the people you meet in the community and how you build those relationships and help each other. So I used the Bored Ape Yacht Club as an example before, where basically if you own an ape, yeah, it's worth $100 grand, but you're also in a community with big celebrities like Steph Curry, and that could be a really big talking point. So I do think that these profile picture projects are like going to be the brands in the metaverse, and it's like I know there's always been cults by blockchain, but I think these are like even more niche down cults in the projects themselves. And so it's kind of like your tribe out there in the internet. And I just think it's a really cool, really exciting.
And what's really interesting as well is how like this combinations of NFTs can start to be kind of like, I think it's almost like kind of a verification mechanism. So like, okay, maybe you have like an Illuvial, and you have one of the mushroom NFTs and the Kyle one. Maybe that kind of specific combination then unlocks an even more exclusive, very, very specific experience.
And on top of that, it's just a way of organizing people that we can come together and like help the world. So we're really passionate about the like benefits of medicinal mushrooms in the world. So right off of mint, we'll be donating over 50 grand to like medicinal mushroom research. And so it's just a lot of just a cool way to build a group of people. Because if you understand NFTs, I mean, you're relatively, it's kind of hard to grasp. So you're attracting a high level group of people. And if you all come together, this is really cool what you can do.
For me, yeah, 100%, totally agree with that, and certainly like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, like I fully get wanting to be a part of it, and I think in crypto, that FOMO style of that's what they preyed on at the Bored Ape Club. It was all about get into this exclusive club and whatever. But for me, I think NFTs, I want to start seeing things like real estate, right? Like real world real estate, that use cases like that, where someone can, purchase a piece of property, they can turn it into an NFT, they can make that a fractionalized NFT, and then all of a sudden you have this product where you've split up a house a million different ways. And for example, in Sydney, the property prices are so high that it's almost impossible for anyone under 30 to get in and be able to purchase a piece of land or a house or whatever. And so I see this as a way for people to be able to buy in and a fraction of that NFT. And then you've got things like they start renting out that house, and then those profits are distributed between anyone who's holding that NFT or the fraction of that NFT. And so I think, just the verifiable ownership on the blockchain, it has so many different use cases, even things like, minerals and whatever, and very, very, medical supplies that need to be tracked and stuff like that. There's so many use cases where like we're at literally like year zero, like it's just begun.
I'll tell you one thing that we're working on now at on our project Paid Network. We're building this like B2B or any person to person business platform where you can enter into agreements with each other, kind of like a marketplace in a way, if you will, but using things like DeFi tools and things like that, and actually tying someone's digital identity through something like biometrics to an avatar or to a profile, right, that you cannot escape from. So right now, there's actually not really any good way for us to review each other, right? So if I hire someone as an advisor and they don't do anything for me, like I don't go to LinkedIn and leave a review for somebody. There's no way to like hold people accountable for what they say that they're going to do in the business world. And if someone screws you over, there's actually no good way to sue them either. It's impossible. Lawyers are super expensive and the whole process is effed up, right? But what we want to do too is like take that a step further and empower people. So let's say that some guy, and I don't care if you're going to build me a website, I don't care what you look like, I don't care where you live, I don't care what the color of your skin is, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. I just want to know that person whose profile I'm looking at. I don't care what your avatar picture looks like, none of that. I just want to know that the person who I'm hiring to do this job is the same person that actually has all these reviews that I'm reading and is delivering on time and these kind of things. And so what we're going to do too is empower that person and making it a power, like an empowering kind of opportunity where someone who's, let's say, a website developer thinks that they can scale their business and they've got this track record of delivering on time and happy people with reviews, and allowing the community to then go and basically crowdfund that person to scale their business and deliver these NFTs that represent ownership of revenue in the future. So when they generate revenue through our platform, it can autonomously be paid out to the people who helped along the way. Or maybe I'm a web developer, but I don't know how to generate the kind of capital structure for my fundraise. So I can go out and look through paid network to see which advisors have experience in setting up these kind of structures, so that I can bring them on. They can get credit through like an NFT that gives them ownership of revenue in the future. And this whole process becomes like a DeFi crowdfunding platform for entrepreneurs or small businesses that want to scale. And you kind of take out, because I've always not really enjoyed the whole process of like angel investing in VCs, even though I kind of am one, but like, I still think that we should democratize that whole opportunity, you know? So I'm really excited for everything that's going on right now. And thank you guys for coming on. We got to wrap this show up, but I really appreciate you guys. Kieran, it was really great to meet you. Sarah Toby, always a pleasure. Brett, always a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, thank you that are watching. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave some comments. Thank you guys all again. Have a good evening, good day, good afternoon, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Bye.
My pleasure. Thanks.